Hello everybody, I hope you're having a fairly good day today. That was my attempt at making an intro. So hello everybody, I hope you're having a fairly good day today. I've been spending a lot of time making this really awesome card system, but I've realized that the boomerang system, which is the main attack in my game, is kind of not that good. So I came up with a weapon mod system that I'm calling Charms that'll change the look, the effects, the sounds, the damage, and just everything about the boomerang. I've also gotten a lot of comments about the balance in my game, so I'm going to be addressing that as well in this video. We're going to be walking through creating the whole charm system as well as balancing the game. So let's just get into it. The way we're going to make this charm system is actually going to be built off of my actual boomerang system. So I wanted to have different skins for the boomerang in the game. So I have scriptable objects that you can just drag onto the actual boomerang, and it'll do things like being able to change the sprite. So all I have to do is just grab one of these scriptable objects, put it onto the boomerang, and then you can see here that now it's a woman. In order to make these boomerangs start doing some damage, we're going to need to make a new value on the boomerang itself, so when we equip the charm, it'll be able to know what damage it needs to do. So we're going to grab the default charm and we're going to set the damage to be 1, and then we're going to grab our testing charm and set the damage to be 5, just so we can clearly see the difference between the two. Then we're going to hop over to the game to see our awesome work, and it doesn't work. That's because we haven't routed the damage system to actually go through the charms now. These numbers are just doing nothing. So I had to do a little bit of rearranging for my damage code, and now the boomerang is actually doing the proper amount of damage. But shortly after that, I kept encountering some errors. Now that I removed that old damage variable, there's actually a script in my HUD that's still trying to access it. So I have to go into that and I have to switch it over to the new damage. And here we are, that now displays the proper damage number. Next, we're going to work on displaying and equipping the charms in the menu. So I hopped on over to A-Sprite and drew some placeholder charms. Then I made some images and I laid them out in the grid just so I can get a feel for how I want the charms to be and where I want them to fit in. I also had a fist fight with the canvas system, but I think it came out pretty good. Then I hooked up these charms to my menu system and you can already see it's taking shape. I added an image to show you what the boomerang will look like with this charm equipped. I also made it so that the damage number shows you whether or not the charm you're hovered over is better or worse than the current charm you have equipped. After that, I made it so that the menu actually knows which boomerang you have equipped. So you can see here that I have the test boomerang equipped, and I can actually go and grab the default boomerang, put it on there, and it knows that I now have the default boomerang equipped, which is awesome. So the next step is going to actually be able to equip it in the menu. But before that, I decided I would display the other information that the charms can display, which is their name and the description for it. I ran the game and it works perfectly, which is awesome. So at this point, I had the charm system working with keyboard, controller, and mouse. The next step is to be able to equip them. Now, if you enter the menu, you can actually pick between your different charms and equip which one you like. So now that we have the charm system in the game, it's going to be a lot easier for us to balance the game. Currently, there's an issue in the game with the boomerang is just not that good. You get mana so often, and it's refilled so often, that you never really need to worry about running out of mana or needing to use the boomerang that often. When you kill majority of the enemies in the game, they drop mana, and then you'll just be back up to full almost immediately. Another issue with the balance of the mana is that the cards are just very overpowered. You can see there, I just got 3 drops of mana. I just got 2 there. There's too much mana that's being thrown around. And there is also the issue that health is never actually dropped in the game currently. The only way that you can refill health in the game currently is by saving the game. So to start working on these changes, I hopped back over to A-Sprite and I started drawing a third charm. And this charm is going to be the most powerful charm that you can get in Haunted Household. I haven't explained this yet, but each area of the game will have 3 different charms, 2 of them that you can buy in a store, and 1 that's hidden that is super rare and has a special effect on it. For example, the special charm in Haunted Household actually does piercing damage. I went back to Unity and I created a new charm, and after that I also added all the information for it. This is when I changed the damage value for the charms. This new testing charm does 9 damage, the testing charm we made earlier does 7 damage, and the default charm does 5 damage. I added a new charm into the menu and got it all set up, and now we have a third charm. Next, I wanted to address the amount of health the enemies have. I wanted there to be a really good relationship between the amount of damage the charms can do, the amount of damage the cards can do, and the amount of health that enemies have. I also wanted to make sure that the charms aren't too overpowered, so I tried to stay away from being able to one-shot most enemies. First, I started by making the mousey have 8 health, then we moved on to the Pleer and gave it 12 health, and then we gave the Regalia 35 health, and then we finished it off with the Taper Shell and gave it 70 health. Fighting a mousey with the default charm is going to take 2 hits to kill it, which is exactly how it was before, and killing a Pleer with the default charm is going to take 3 hits, which is the same as it was before. But if I equip the next best charm, you can see that the Mousy still takes 2 hits, but now the Pleart also takes 2 hits. With the last charm equipped, Mousies will only take 1 hit, but Plearts will still take 2. That might not sound like much of a difference on smaller enemies, but for example on the Taper Shell here, the default charm takes 14 hits, and the next best charm only takes 10. I raised the starting mana from 10 to 25 and I decided to work on the cards. We're going to focus on only 2 today, the Mousy Orb and the Pleart card. So I changed the Mousy Orb to cost 5 mana, and I changed the Pleart card to cost 7 mana. Then I went over to the projectiles and I changed the Mousy Orb to do 10 damage, and I changed the Pleart projectile to do 4. Keep in mind that the Pleart card does damage over time, so it's actually a lot more than just 4. With these changes, the Mousy card can one-shot a Mousy, but it takes 2 hits in order to kill a Pleart. But keep in mind that you can throw the boomerang and the card really quickly in succession, so it's actually really powerful. The Pleart card does the most damage against stationary enemies, and it's perfectly timed to be able to kill Mousies. What I'm going to do to balance the amount of mana that you get is I'm going to strip mana from all of the drops of all the enemies, so that enemies can no longer drop mana. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to have mana and health drop from the breakable objects from around the map. Now you have to think a little bit more before using your card, because the enemies that you kill won't drop mana, but there's still an issue that the passive regen amount is still way too much. So I hopped back into Visual Studio and made it regenerate 1 instead of a percentage of the maximum amount of mana. So now you still regenerate mana over time, but it's not as impactful as it once was before. The last step to this balance was to make the breakable objects be able to drop health and mana. So I changed the drop amount and the drop rate for the breakable objects. I ran the game and tested it and realized that the health drop was actually broken. The animation was playing really weird and it wasn't giving me any health. I went to the animator and I removed exit time. Then I went over to Visual Studio and I realized it wasn't using my heal function, so I made it use my heal function. I ran the game to test it and it worked. Now if you're really low on mana, breaking things like these ghost vases are going to be really helpful for you. These balance changes emphasize upgrading your boomerang and thinking before you use your card, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. Now if you waste all your mana on a single enemy, you're going to have to either find a breakable object or go back to the save room. Thank you so much for watching this video. I actually put a like goal on the last video and you guys hit it, which is super awesome. So today I'm going to say, let's try to get 200 likes on this video. That would be really amazing if we could do it, because if you like the video, then you should like it. Also, you should subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed, because you get to see more awesome videos just like this one. You'll have to tell me down in the comments what you guys thought about this video, if you think this format is a lot better than the format that I've been doing. Also, this is a new little location. I have a tripod now, which I got in between filming the first and this last part of the video. So I might be filming in this location. It's the same location I've been in, it's just sort of rotated a little bit to the side, and the video should be a lot more stable and less wonky now that I have a tripod, which I bought thanks to the amazing patrons that support me on Patreon. They allowed me to buy stuff that improves my recording and helps me to make my game and build up the YouTube channel. So thank you guys so much to my patrons. The names of all my patrons down in the description below. Also, if you want to become a patron, just check out the link in the description below and you can help me help my game, and it'll be awesome. But that's all I got to say for the end of this video. As always, I'll see you in the next devlog.